We cannot let any of our nation's flags be appropriated by hoodlums, hooligans, fascists.
David Lammy reacts sharply as Tommy Robinson calls out his recent remarks live. You're not going to believe what just happened. A quiet morning in British politics suddenly turned electric when Tommy Robinson went live and directly called out David Lammy, triggering one of the most unexpected reactions we've seen from the Labour frontbencher in months. It wasn't scripted. It wasn't polished. And it sure wasn't what Lammy's team expected to be trending on social media by lunchtime. Because what started as a fiery live stream by Robinson questioning Lammy's attitude and accountability quickly turned into a national talking point about double standards, free speech, and the state of political discourse in Britain right now. Let's break down what really happened. Tommy Robinson, known for his controversial takes and raw delivery, went live earlier this week to respond to remarks David Lammy made during a BBC discussion about civic responsibility and public rhetoric. Lammy had spoken about the need for responsible language in public debate, which, on the surface, sounded fair enough. But Robinson claimed those words were aimed at him, calling it a political swipe dressed up as moral advice. So Robinson did what he often does: he hit the record button, went live, and delivered a no-holds-barred message that took direct aim at what he called the hypocrisy of political elites. He accused Lammy of talking down to ordinary people and ignoring the frustrations that millions of Britons are feeling about leadership, community breakdown, and lack of accountability in Parliament. And while the rant was passionate, sometimes emotional, it struck a chord with a lot of viewers. Within minutes, the clip was everywhere: TikTok, X, Facebook, racking up hundreds of thousands of views. Now, here's where it got interesting. David Lammy didn't stay silent. During a live radio interview that same afternoon, Lammy was asked whether he had heard Robinson's comments. His tone shifted, instantly calm at first, then noticeably sharper. He said, "We have a responsibility to rise above personal attacks. But when people misrepresent my work or my message, I will defend myself firmly." That line, "defend myself firmly," became the headline. Because in that moment, Lammy wasn't the calm or calculated as we often see in Parliament. He was visibly irritated, passionate, and to many unusually direct. Listeners noticed. Callers flooded the show with reactions. One caller said, "Finally, someone standing up for themselves, but maybe this just proves the divide between ordinary people and politicians is bigger than ever." Another added, "Tommy just said what people think," and Lammy's anger showed he hit a nerve. And that's the heart of it, isn't it? This wasn't just about two public figures clashing on camera. It was about what that moment represents: the growing disconnect between politicians who speak in careful, measured tones and citizens who feel the raw emotion of everyday struggle. Because in politics today, tone matters. Emotion matters. And when someone like Tommy Robinson channels frustration in plain language, it resonates with those who feel unheard. Meanwhile, when someone like Lammy responds even passionately, it gets dissected, twisted, and replayed across every platform. That's the double-edged sword of modern politics. A political analyst told Sky News later that day. Lammy's reaction shows how fragile public discourse has become. The moment emotion enters politics, it's either seen as authenticity or as weakness. And that's true on both sides. Robinson supporters praised him for saying what others won't, while critics accused him of fueling outrage instead of discussion. Lammy's defenders called his response measured but human, while his detractors said he lost his cool and gave Robinson exactly what he wanted. Everyone was watching the same exchange but seeing two completely different stories. Why are these moments, these live confrontations, these emotional flare-ups dominating political news more than actual policies? Because people are tired of scripted politics. They want something real, even if it's messy. And that's what makes this clash so significant. In a single 48-hour window, two completely different political figures, one from Westminster, one from the grassroots, managed to expose the gap in how Britain's leaders communicate with the public. One uses careful statements, press releases, and talking points. The other uses a smartphone, a live stream, and unfiltered language. But both are fighting for the same thing: attention. Behind the scenes, Labour insiders were reportedly frustrated by how fast the story spread. One aide told a journalist, "Every time we think we're moving the conversation toward policy, something emotional pulls it back to personality and outrage." But others within the party weren't so quick to dismiss it. A backbench MP said privately, "Maybe that's the problem, people don't connect with calm statements anymore. They connect with passion, even if it's raw." And that insight may be exactly what defines the next stage of British politics. Because whether it's Starmer, Lammy, or anyone else, the age of tightly controlled messaging is breaking down. People want leaders who react, not rehearse. As the day went on, the debate evolved. Major talk shows and podcasts jumped in. Commentators debated whether Lammy's reaction was justified or if he played right into Robinson's hands. Even international outlets picked it up, framing it as another example of Britain's increasingly polarized political culture. But among ordinary Britons, the conversation was more grounded. People talked about being fed up with labels, with divisions, with politicians who act like moral referees instead of problem solvers. And whether you agree with Robinson or not, his live stream touched that nerve, the feeling that the political class doesn't listen anymore. So where does that leave David Lammy? He's trying to walk a fine line between staying composed and showing emotion, between responding to criticism and refusing to dignify it. But politics isn't just about words, it's about how those words feel to the public. And this week, both men proved something: emotions now drive headlines faster than facts ever could. As one journalist wrote in The Guardian's opinion section, British politics is becoming a mirror reflecting the anger we see online, the frustration we feel offline, and the desperate hunger for voices that feel human again. And maybe that's the takeaway here. This wasn't just about Lammy's reaction or Robinson's rant. It was a moment that showed how raw, unpredictable, and emotional our politics has become. So the question is, was this just another political spat or a warning sign that the gap between Britain's leaders and its people is widening by the day? Because if this week proved anything, it's that in modern politics, silence can be costly, but emotion can change everything.